Okay, we are now live. Welcome to episode 1 of Star Trek Neutral Zone. This episode is called Artifice, and I will start out with just a little kind of setting the stage text. Space, the final frontier. Starbase 23 shines like a beacon of peace and civilization near the Federation's most contentious border, the Romulan Neutral Zone. The space dock-style starbase hums with activity. Starfleet personnel coordinate round-the-clock surveillance of the neutral zone as diplomats, merchants, and wanderers conduct their business on the starbase's massive concourse. We're going to pick up the action minutes before crisis erupts and the red alert klaxons sound. But first, let's introduce our cast as they go about their duties aboard Starbase 23 in Ops. So let's start with Ben. Why don't you introduce yourself and your character, since you'll be the ranking officer for this episode.
All right. Well, Commander Stiles has been in both the civilian and in the military during the Cardassian conflict, and he's got a nice mustache, which he's glad he gets to keep now that his rank is over a certain point. It seems like you have to be at least a commander for people to be lax on your hair. So he's glad about that. He gets his bushy mustache and gives him that grizzled grayness in there to make sure people realize that he has at least seen some battle. And I guess his first, what he'd be doing in ops is maybe akin to what an aircraft controller might be doing, or at least at his busiest, and making sure that things are going smoothly with all these different ships that likely have overlapping needs that we have to take care of.
Yep, absolutely. There's a couple of heavily trafficked trade routes that go near the starbase. So there's all sorts of routine traffic coming in and out of the space near Starbase 23, pretty much round the clock. So let's go to Lieutenant Commander Dietrich Holm, played by Miguel.
Okay, Dietrich is head of security for Starbase 23, recently transferred from the USS Cairo. He is basically what you would consider to be a guy who comes out from the sticks, frontier world. Kind of likes the outside, all of that. Strict person. And basically, he took the talent of, Starship expert, so that he could identify all the sorts of starships that come in and out of Starbase 23 and all the little modifications to it, such as smuggling compartments.
Yeah, that's always going to be handy this close to the neutral zone. There's all sorts of shady things that go back and forth across the neutral zone, trying to avoid Starfleet.
It'll be a poor Ferengi if they try not to smuggle something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go to Lieutenant Mamyk, the science officer, played by Rob.
Okay, so I would probably be at the science station in the command level. Mostly I would be focusing on, at this point, we have a lot of traffic coming in here, so any ways this might disrupt space, unusual gravity concentrations, things like that. That's probably the thing he's watching for the most. Other than that, he's pretty quiet, keeping to himself, just focused on his work.
Okay, and last but not least in tonight's game, we've got Lieutenant Thelev Chesirk, played by Paul.
Hi. So yeah, Lieutenant Thelev is a very young Andorian officer. He's quite a serious sort of character. He grew up on an Outer Rim colony world where he, with his father, was responsible for maintaining all the power and life support systems of the colony. So it's left him quite focused on his engineering work and quite sure of himself. And as a result, he tends to be a little bit arrogant, a little bit abrasive, and doesn't tend to do anything else outside of engineering.
All right, so let me set the stage a little bit for you guys. You're in Ops, which is the command center of Starbase 23, and it's a large circular room. In the very center of the room, there's a large table with holographic display on top of it called the situation table, and that gives all sorts of readouts and sensor data concerning the starbase and the surrounding space. And then kind of in concentric circles rising up outward from there, there are several more computer consoles and stations. And then if you look upward, around the room, there is a large circular video board that goes the entire circumference of the room that's always updating you with various bits of data and sensor displays, things like that. So Lieutenant Mamyk, you said that you were sort of monitoring the sensors and looking for different sorts of spatial distortions or anomalies. You actually find something kind of interesting as you're conducting your routine scans. It looks like there's an object traveling at warp speed heading directly for the station. But it looks like the warp field that is propelling this object is going through all sorts of strange fluctuations.
Okay, quick question. We're not in the neutral zone, we're just on the Federation edge of the neutral zone?
You are correct.
Or we're in the neutral zone?
Nope, you are not
Okay,
in the neutral zone. Near the neutral
Got
zone.
it. So before I announce my finding, I'm going to do at least some preliminary scans. Can I determine that it's a ship or not?
It looks like it is some sort of artificial object. If you want to know more, you'll have to do a task, and that will be, let me bring up your character sheet. So you'll roll 2 d20s, and this will be a reason plus, you can either do sciences because you're obviously using your science background, or con because you're working the ship's sensors, whichever one you like.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to use science.
Okay.
And I got 2 successes. That's actually my thing. That's 17.
Okay. So 2 successes, you only needed 1. So what you do with that extra one is you generate 1 point of momentum. And so you do determine that this is a ship, although you don't recognize its configuration. If you like, you can spend this point of momentum right away to improve the quality of your success, or you can bank it for someone else to use later.
I'm banking it. Shit's going to hit the fan soon enough.
Okay,
so
cool. So it's
Commander Stiles.
Sort of ship that you don't recognize. It's traveling at warp and heading directly for the station.
Yep. So Commander Stiles, I have something to report. An object approaching at warp, unidentified, artificial.
Hold from mute. Distance?
Closing fast. You said 1 hour it'll be here at the current speed. Did I get that right?
And, right? Well, I guess we need to establish standard communications with it, right? See if you can identify what its configuration is.
Okay, I'm going to try and increase, get a more detailed scan of it. If it's a ship, if I can determine from materials or configuration what race it might be associated with, or if it's unknown, if it's carrying any life forms. And of course, I don't know if we have a communications officer on deck. If we do, then I will give the order to, send out a hail.
Yep, any one of you can attempt to hail the vessel if you like. If you want to do another sensor scan, you can. This time it'll be to determine more information than what you've already got. It'll be difficulty 2 rather than difficulty 1.
Okay, same stats?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I got a 1 success and a natural 20.
Okay, a natural 20 is that creates a complication. And so as you are scanning it, all of a sudden, all of your scans are reflected back at you. It's almost as if this strange unidentified craft is made of some sort of material that you don't recognize and that your sensors are having a very hard time penetrating.
Okay, I'm going to report that as well. Curious, Commander. It seems to be reflecting our scans. I suspect it is probably some unknown material we are unfamiliar with and not technology doing this. I will continue to try and get readings. As it approaches, it should get easier.
Yes. Well, at this distance, though, they should be transmitting friend or foe information, right?
No response yet.
All right. Well, I'll make it interesting then. Let's let's see now. Do we have our strategy officer, our tactical officer on the bridge?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Chief of security?
Yep. Lieutenant Commander reporting.
What do you think? Do we need to should we go to condition yellow here and maybe do some standard something standard for our ships that might be in the way, heading this way, that they might want to get out of the way?
Diverting traffic would be wise. I would suggest not getting into yellow alert yet. What was the point of origin for the object?
Yeah, if you track its trajectory back through its point of origin, it looks like it came from the Paulson Nebula, which is not too far away from the Starbase.
Okay, and where is that? On Federation territory, or?
Yep, it's in Federation territory. It's kind of the opposite direction from where the neutral zone was.
Okay. I have, with the information about basically materials that reflect back sensors and all that, I also have the focus of espionage. There are reasons, science role I could use for this?
Sure. So you're trying, what are you trying to determine?
Basically, what sort of starships would be equipped with that sort of thing, basically. It's really weird because they have cloaking devices in this franchise, but an actual stealth ship that actually tries to repel back radar so it doesn't get identified.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a reason plus engineering task, difficulty 1.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I had to get an 8, and I got an 8 and 3.
Okay, so you generate 1 point of momentum. You can use it right now to improve the quality of your success, or you can bank it with this other point of momentum that you guys have.
I also have Starship Expert. Would that apply too?
Starship what?
Expert. I think it gives me momentum for identifying starships.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think I'll spend some.
Okay, so you generate a point of momentum and then also use a point to improve your success. Yeah. And what you realize looking over the sensor data, you know that, for instance, the Romulans are always looking at all sorts of different ways to improve their cloaking devices and their stealth technology, but that's almost all done with materials that are familiar to Starfleet, at least in some regard. This is something completely different. The materials used to make this craft and its configuration don't match anything in your experience. You think this is something fairly alien.
Well, then I'm going to relay that to the commander.
All right. Well, if it doesn't conform to any of our known enemies or allies, but it is coming from our side of the neutral zone. Is that what I heard?
Yes, this is not coming from Romulan space. Correct.
Yeah, so they're not in. So we are not in the moment of a violation of the neutral zone treaty.
Doesn't look like it.
It also has not posed any threat yet, other than being unknown.
That's a very good point. Kind of
I would
strange.
suggest we try to hail it, Commander.
I've
Can we do that
been doing it, so we first detected it. No response.
Well, I guess we should probably take a look at our map, our nice, awesome strategy table here, and look to see if we have any ships in the area who might be doing patrols or anything that we can inform that there may be some additional need to be in this area at some point.
So what is the closest ship we have to this spatial nebula? What'd you call it?
The Paulson Nebula.
Pulsar.
Currently, most of the Starfleet vessels that frequently go through the Starbase are, they patrol the neutral zone, and this is in the opposite direction. So you really don't have any starships in the general vicinity of the Paulson Nebula right now.
Well, we have a runabout.
The USS Griffin is an Akira-class starship is currently undergoing pretty extensive repairs inside the space doors of the Starbase, and probably couldn't be ordered out to investigate quickly enough as this thing approaches it at a high warp velocity.
Okay.
Leaving the base to travel to its place of origin might be a bit premature at this time. I suggest we wait until we have further information on this probe before taking an action.
Lieutenant Chesirk, have you, as you're observing this sort of mystery unfold, are you seeing anything? What's occurring to you?
I'm just wondering whether I've seen or heard of any of these kind of materials in Starfleet engineering at all. I'm also wondering if we have any runabouts in the station that we can use to take out and get a closer look at it.
Yep, there are runabouts, and as you take a look at the data as well, you are impressed by the sort of unknown nature of these materials. This is not something that you learn about at Starfleet Academy in the engineering courses.
Yeah, and it strikes me as something not hugely stealthy. I mean, yeah, you've got cloaking devices and all the rest of it, but if you've got something that actually reflects, scans back, that tends to make you more visible, not less visible.
Yep. Yeah, that it occurs to you that this, whatever it is, isn't so much interested in hiding itself as it is from just keeping you from getting a good grasp of what's inside.
Exactly, yeah. I would seriously like to take a closer look at this.
We could launch a few Class 5 probes first, and with different sensor triangulation, we may be able to get more information.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, why don't we prepare one of our runabouts while we send out a Class 5 probe then?
Okay. I suggest we get a xenolinguistic on board for the runabout.
I'll volunteer for the away team.
Oh, are we to greet it before it arrives here in 43 minutes?
Well, we've been trying to communicate with it.
We do not even know if it supports our life, if it has life support on board yet. Should we not at least know a little bit more about it?
That's why I think we need to go and take a look at it before it gets too close to the starbase.
Other unknown objects have approached the base before. Probes have been launched. So I'm hoping between these, the two probes and the base, can maybe get, and the fact that it's closer now, we can maybe get at least a little more information.
Yeah. So you launch a couple of probes that kind of go out on a direct intercept course for whatever this thing is.
Yeah, sort of like to surround it a bit and get the sensors from all, you know.
Yeah, and you actually get a look at it as this thing is traveling at warp, and you notice that it looks like it's almost kind of like a beer bottle with maybe like a golf ball on top of it. It's got like a long cylindrical shape with some sort of spherical module on the end, and it's also when it notices that you've sent probes out to get near it, it starts to speed up. And so I've got this, just as you guys have momentum, which you currently have two points of momentum saved up, I have what's called threat. And so I start every session with 2 points of threat for each player character. So I'm going to spend 2 points of threat to create a new complication. And that complication is out of control probe. This thing starts to speed up. Its warp field starts to fluctuate, almost like it's out of control or malfunctioning. And it's suddenly on a direct collision course for the starbase, and it will arrive in minutes now that it's sped up.
Oh, okay. Tractor beam? Perhaps we can trap it in a tractor beam.
Yeah, we need to.
We can get more information out of it if we don't have to destroy it.
No, but I'm thinking we need to set up shields and try to get the starbase moving away from its path. So,
going to move the whole starbase.
It's got thrusters.
It's got thrusters.
There's no way
it can move, but it can't
it's going to be more maneuverable than this thing.
Well, and I'm assuming we have something that can disrupt warp fields in short range to prevent people from actually, you know, attacking us in some sort of collision, right?
Or trying to steal the Enterprise.
What about that?
Can we try? Can we try a tractor beam first, and then maybe weapons next, or moving next, or something?
I'm thinking there's pretty much no defense against something coming at you at high warp, unless you can move out of the way just as fast.
Relative masses, we could. It might be possible to generate sufficient power in a tractor beam.
And I do seem to remember that there was a defense against the Picard maneuver that tractor beamed somebody at warp. So I think we can do that. Let's get our hands on the trigger for that.
Remember, there's a thing called technobabble in this system.
Well, okay, so I'm going to try a tractor beam, see if I can lock a tractor beam on this thing.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to run its configuration through the database to see if any other races, whatever configuration is closest to this bottle configuration. See if I might get a guess at who made it.
Yeah, it doesn't require a task for you to consult the computer database. You don't find much that matches this exactly.
Okay.
Give me a few seconds. I'll see if I can boost the power to the tractor beam as well.
Excellent.
And of course,
Yeah,
we need to go to condition red now, since it's only a minute's away.
Cool. Yeah, the red alert sounds. That circular video board that goes around the entire ops section starts flashing red. You guys are now at red alert. Shields go up.
If we cannot stop it, I recommend destroying it.
Lieutenant Chisurk, you said you wanted to boost power to the tractor beam.
Yep.
Why don't you give me a difficulty 2 reason plus engineering task? Now, if you would like to buy an extra D20, you can use one of your 2 points of momentum to buy one, or you can pay me threat. You can give me another point of threat to get additional dice.
I will use one of the points of momentum because
Okay, good call.
I'm going to take my time with it, kind of, and I'll use my cautious talent as well, which means that when I'm using a point of momentum to buy the die 20, I can actually re-roll one of those die 20s as well.
All right, perfect.
Okay, and can I also set up the tractor beam, since I was able to study some of the alloys and all that? Be able to help get that thing going as well?
So yeah, I think so. One of you can operate the tractor beam, and another one of you can assist on the tractor beam operation. We'll get to how that works in a moment.
I'm just looking at it from the power point of view.
Yep.
So what was my role again?
It was reason plus engineering, difficulty 2, and you bought an extra D20, so you get to roll a total of 3.
Okay, so that's 15 I'm looking for. So 8, 15, and 16. Only one success.
Okay.
So I will use my cautious talent to re-roll one.
Okay.
For a 7.
Okay, so you got the 2 successes you needed, and so you've created an advantage that will help with the tractor beam task. So one of you can operate the tractor beam, the other one assists. The way that works is one of you gets to roll 2 d20s, the other one gets to roll 1. And you
I'll provide the information to who's ever going to do the task. As that said, I'll be the assister.
Cool.
Okay.
So in this case, then you will roll just 1 d20, and you don't have to roll the same attribute and discipline, since you're kind of monitoring the data. You can use kind of like you can use your reason and science, or reason and con, something like that. Whichever one.
I got a natural 7, so
okay,
success
so
whatever I use.
Cool. So as long as the person operating the actual tractor beam gets at least 1 success, then you will add yours to it. So who's running the tractor beam?
I will. It's a tactical shipboard computer thing, yeah?
Yes, sir. So it would be
Focuses, so...
I'll let you use, so it's either control or I'll let you use daring, because this is like a red alert intense situation if you've got a good daring score, and then it's security is the discipline that you'll use.
Okay, so if you succeed with your focus, that means you get an extra success too?
I'm sorry, what?
If you get a success with something with a focus, then you get 2 successes.
So the way the focuses work, if your focus applies, then your discipline then becomes your crit range. So if one of your die rolls your discipline score or lower, then it becomes a critical success and gets 2 successes instead of 1.
Oh, okay. And we needed 1 success?
Oh. Yeah, I just did that, so I'm just going to add a point of momentum then.
Sweet. So how many successes I needed? 1?
You just needed 1.
Okay, cool. I got a 17 and 12.
Okay. So how many successes is that?
1.
1. Okay, perfect. So then you add that to Rob's success for a total of 2, which is what you needed. So you are able to, as this unknown vessel starts sort of warping in directly toward Starbase 23, at the last moment you're able to fire the tractor beam to disrupt its warp field, and it sort of ricochets off for a little bit and then kind of spins slowly to a stop in the space near the space station. You guys feel like for the moment you're out of danger. Well done. But you now have this unknown vessel kind of parked out in the space near Starbase 23.
I'm going to command the probes that are out there, the 2 classified probes that are out there, to slowly approach it and go into like a tight orbit so they can get a focused scan.
Yeah, so give me, now that it's close and it's stopped, give me another reason plus science task. This will be difficulty 1.
Sorry, I got 1.
Okay, perfect. So you detect, you're still having a hard time piercing through the strange material that this vessel is made of. It's still completely unknown to you, but you do feel relatively certain that there isn't anything humanoid on board.
I'm also want to look for possible explosives. Like, does it seem like it could be a bomb?
No, you detect you detect nothing that really looks much like a weapon system to you, at least as you would understand it as a Starfleet officer.
Okay, so as the information from this probe comes on my screen, I'm going to filter out the irrelevant stuff and pass along the relevant stuff to the captain's screen so he gets the same information but more concisely.
No humanoids.
Does not appear to be an explosive. No life forms aboard. I still cannot determine its who its creators. It matches nothing in our database.
Now, you said that there was something to be said for it being inanimate. Are we sure it's not one of the many kinds of life forms that can go in space?
It is possible it is an artificial life form. It is much more difficult to detect those, but there are no organic life forms aboard. What is the approximate dimensions of it?
It's not that big. It's larger than a runabout, but definitely smaller than a starship.
Does there seem to be internal space, like cavities? If it was all technology, there'd be very little. You know what I mean? But if there was a place where a crew could be, there would be empty space. So.
Yeah, you detect that the cylindrical part of this vessel does look to be open.
So, an abandoned craft, perhaps.
I'd like to try a scan from the engineering station. I want to try and figure out if this thing where it's reflecting our scans, is this some kind of a field that it's generating, or is it some sort of a property of the material that it's made of? And if there's any possibility we can disrupt that ability.
I think we determined it's the latter. It's the materials.
Yes, correct.
It's just unknown alloys to us. So, Commander, I recommend a boarding party. Life support should be taken along.
No, I think that's a good. I think that's a good cautious idea there. Do we want to? I think we may not want to use transporters. With that reflectiveness nature in the materials, we could have a serious problem with the transporters. Can we?
Quite
Why don't we
correct.
send a shuttle?
Okay. So I'm going to add one little command to the probes to look for a docking port.
Yeah, you think you can? You've discovered one. Yeah.
Okay. It is just up to you to commission an away team.
Yes. Well, this thing definitely is a threat to our security, so I think Commander Holmes should lead an away party.
Understood, Commander.
Say again?
So the Star Trek Adventures has a mechanic for creating supporting cast characters. I don't want to introduce that mechanic quite yet. So just for the sake of keeping the adventure going and keeping everybody involved, let's just say that you guys can all take part in the away mission.
Okay.
Well, like classic Star Trek, where the entire bridge troop goes down.
Exactly. All the most important people go on to the dangerous away mission.
And a specialist if the mission requires it, yeah. I have a value that would seem to make me want to go anyway. I just want to know if there's any mechanics that goes with that. I have a value that says it seeks knowledge as it brings wisdom. Yeah.
So the way the values work mechanically is they're kind of what allow you to use your determination. So if because your value is I seek knowledge, when you're in a situation where it's dangerous, but you feel like you need to learn something new, you can use that point of determination to give yourself a critical success. Otherwise, it's just kind of a good guide for your role playing and for your character's personality.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we already talked about preparing a runabout, so maybe we'll take that runabout and that'll be how we try to dock.
Cool. I would like you guys to. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say I want to make sure that in addition to like an evac suit, I also have I'm going to make sure the medical kit. There's a emergency medical kit with us. Who knows?
Yep, and you guys can certainly bring medical supplies, and you guys are all at least capable of attempting first aid. Like you guys couldn't perform complex operations or anything, but you could stabilize someone who'd been wounded or something like that. That's all something that you guys are all capable of.
Okay, and since once we're inside this vehicle, we're not going to be hopefully blocked. I hope hopefully we all have we bring tricorders with us.
Yep, it'll be assumed that you guys all will bring your communicators. You'll have tricorders. The senior officers will have Type 2 phasers. The junior officers will have Type 1 phasers. This stuff is all assumed that you'll be equipped with, that you'll have access to.
Great. Hoping we don't need them.
Can we bring a what are those called, the transporter enhancers or whatever, in case we need to transport out?
Sure.
Transporter beacons.
Yeah.
I assume so. Yeah.
There's all transporter enhancers, yeah. I recommend we bring 3. They work best in a triangular formation.
Excellent.
Yeah, before I drop.
So I would like you guys to come up with a theme for the names of Starbase 23's runabouts. Like Deep Space Nine, all of the runabouts are named after rivers.
Oh, I like that.
How about cities?
Cities.
Doesn't have to be Earth cities.
No. Yeah. Tellarite cities.
I think given that the Starbase commander is an Andorian, I'm just saying, Andorian cities.
It's fine by me. I have no objection. So what's this runabout called then?
Yeah, someone look up the name of Andorian city real quick.
Make one up.
Okay, I didn't think that through all the way.
Just make one up.
Andoria.
You just look it up what someone else made up. I mean, you just.
But we want it to be canon.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't know much about regular names for Andorian, so I don't even know what the language is like.
Sorry, I'm just going to make sure that I bring along an engineering tricorder and an engineering toolkit as well, just in case we need to break into stuff.
Andorian names are much like English names. They're not unusual.
How about we just call it Andor? The Andor.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, so it could be Federation members.
It could be that too. So you guys board the Andor runabout, and I'm not going to make you roll for a piloting task because I don't see much of a point to it. But who? Tell me who is piloting the craft?
I do have piloting skills.
I also pilot too.
I didn't get to press any buttons in the last hour.
I have astronavigation pilot focus.
Oh.
Well, I don't care. He just asked a question.
Sure, I'll take my commander's prerogative and press some buttons.
I'd rather
press
work
the commander
anyway.
button.
Cool.
Which is like opening the the lighter.
Yeah. So Commander Stiles gets behind the main console in the cockpit of the runabout Andor and skillfully pilots it directly next to the strange alien vessel. And you're able to lock up the airlocks, and you hear this once you successfully establish the lock.
Okay, I'm going to set up my tricorder with these two classified probes as sort of like a little LAN system, and everything is constantly going to be scanning this vessel and us and feeding that information to the tricorder. So I get up to the minute, you know what I mean? Kind of information. Because there's a lot we don't know about this vessel, so I'm trying to be cautious in that sense. I guess the first thing I want to scan for is what's the interior atmosphere of this thing like? Is there atmosphere, or is it empty space and minus 250 degrees?
So the moment that you lock up the runabout, there is some sort of power surge from the vessel, and it probes the computer database of the Andor. And so, Mamyk, when you use your tricorder to scan what's inside this thing, at first you detect vacuum, but then a few moments later, you start to detect an oxygen-rich, breathable atmosphere with roughly Earth-like gravity.
Curious, Commander. It would seem as if the probe read our requirements and duplicated them. Definitely an intelligence at work here.
Well, that is good news. More intelligent life form, the more apt they are for peaceful coexistence.
Yeah, more to the point, it's created an atmosphere it knows we can breathe, so at least it wants to keep us alive.
But for what reason?
To serve man.
Well, only one way to find out. I guess we probably already put on our Enviro suits, though. I guess we could just keep our helmets off for a while. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll have it at the ready just in case.
I see my character is very paranoid, and if that gets like unfriendly to the to any of these episodes, you'll let me know. I'm happy to do things that aren't so paranoid, but I kind of see that.
Sure the medical officer has something to calm you down.
All right, so yeah, let's pop it open and see what we're dealing with here. I'm
So
gonna
just
have
to
my
be clear,
tricorder
you guys
scanning
are
the whole
or
time.
are not wearing your EV suits?
I thought are, but we don't have the, like, it's just not kind of turned on sort of thing.
Yep. Okay.
But just in case we can.
In case.
Yeah, I was thinking that they probably have like little latches where you can put the helmets, and so hopefully I'll have a better view with my helmets, on my my waist instead. And we find out that oxygen levels change really quickly. Hopefully I can put that helmet on quick enough.
Well,
you just
it's probably,
hold your breath.
it depends on the versions. depends on those. Star Trek had many different versions of the evac suits on how bulky they are. Some are very, very quick.
And sometimes it was a belt, like in a TAS.
Yep.
Yep.
An animated series.
How about we just use the belt?
Yeah. Which I always assume like form like a 1-inch force field around you kind of thing.
And are we the animated? Are we? Does that make us animated?
I'm always animated.
Drawn by a person who is colorblind.
Whenever
So,
we walk down a hallway, we're going to look like we're running down the hallway. And
So with your EV suits at the ready, you guys enter this alien craft, and you emerge into a rather large cylindrical chamber with sort of cold gray walls, dim lighting, some computer consoles kind of scattered throughout the room. The gravity is sort of wraparound, so you get the sense that you could literally just walk up the walls of this cylindrical room.
But does there appear to be an obvious floor and down?
No, the walls are almost all kind of gray and blank, except for here and there where there are computer consoles set into the walls, but they're scattered throughout the room.
At different angles, right? Because the gravity doesn't matter.
Right.
What
So
you're
like you could look up and see like computer consoles on the ceiling from where you enter.
I got it. It reminds me of Sigil from D&D Planescape. Are there chairs?
No, you see nothing that reminds you of furniture.
Okay, I want to just look at one of the computer screens. Does it look like, is it a touchpad?
Yeah, although in an alien language that you do not recognize.
Okay, so again, I've got my tricorder going. I'm going to be running it through our translation matrix. At least I'm looking at a language. That's more than we had before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to fire up my tricorder as well. I want to just do scans of the technology. I want to try and determine the sort of technology, the level of technology, and the kind of things that we're dealing with here. How advanced are these folks?
Go ahead and give me a reason plus either reason plus engineering, since you are an engineer. Difficulty 1 as you scan with your tricorder.
That's 909. So that's 2 successes.
Okay, so that will add 1 to your momentum. You now have 2 points of momentum in your pool.
Cool.
Just for your information, I have 6 points of threat in mine. And you, the first thing you determine is that there is what appears to be a sealed doorway at one end of the cylinder that you would imagine leads to that spherical part of the vessel. As you start to scan with your tricorder, all of a sudden the entire feel of the room changes. There's sort of a swish of light, and all of a sudden the first thing you notice is the cold, and you're just almost sort of transported onto these frozen cliffs overlooking a vapor-covered ocean of ice.
I recognize this.
You do recognize it.
I do. This is where I used to go sit on the colony. I think this is some sort of a hologram.
Are we all seeing this?
Yes, you're all seeing it.
So to our, at least to our visual senses, it appears we've changed locations.
Absolutely. All of your senses make you think that you've changed locations.
And it seems completely real.
Just how you remembered it.
Yeah.
all right,
Well, I'm going to conclude
tricorder
what he said, that it's a hologram and not, we didn't just get transported.
There is that possibility. we could all have just been moved to the Outer Rim Andorian colony world.
The real question is how did it know?
Well, it scanned our computer system and was able to detect what our atmosphere was. Maybe they're able to detect brain scans and.
Yeah, it didn't pull this from any computer system. It pulled this from me.
Is it possible this place is on file in our database?
I run holodeck programs of it every now and then, but
Perhaps it got the image from our database then.
Well,
Maybe.
we probably don't have our holodeck stuff stored on our runabout, do we?
No, that's with the Ferengi bartender.
Well, we don't know
I
how
think it got this
sophisticated his
from holodeck.
computers are.
Well, we all have our tricorders out. Let's do a scan and see if our tricorders are likewise believing that this is a cold region of an Andor colony.
That's a good point, because in our holodeck, it would show the difference. The tricorder wouldn't be fooled.
Yeah, so that'll just be a reason plus either science or engineering, difficulty 1. Anyone can do it with your tricorder.
Okay. It's my specialty.
It's reason and what?
Reason and science. I have a 17 in that. 2 successes anyway.
Okay, so that will generate 1 point of momentum, so you now have 3. And you notice, you're pretty certain that these are this is holographic imagery, much like what you would experience on a holodeck. You also, I'm going to spend 2 points of threat right now. You also notice that there has been some sort of energy field erected around the vessel that's going to prevent you from beaming back or even sending messages back to the Starbase.
Okay, I'm not going to, that's not an immediate threat. So I'm going to, I'm going to, go ahead, you go ahead.
This hologram that it's generated, this is kind of my happy place. This is not somewhere that's threatening. This is somewhere I normally go for recreation. So it's trying something to put us at ease, or at least put me at ease.
It has not immediately threatened us yet.
No.
Curious. So I'm going to say out loud, vessel, can you understand me?
Just the sound of the wind is your only response.
Wind? In here?
Yeah, it's an Andorian thing. It's windy.
Thing right on. All right, so as an experiment purely, I'm going to think about the Vulcan Science Academy. Place I can picture well in my mind. Just to see if it does anything. Just trying to interact with this ship in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. The scene changes to the Vulcan Science Academy. You're standing in front of a large row of these rather stern, elderly-looking Vulcans kind of peering down at you, testing you with all sorts of questions, point blank.
This is your happy
So
place.
I ignore
Seriously?
the... Yeah. So I ignore what I take to be holograms. I turn to my companions. Fascinating. I focused my thoughts on this place, and it appeared. The ship is reading our thoughts. I wonder how we might use this to communicate with it.
Well, we've all taken courses at the Academy for establishing peaceful communications. I wonder if we could somehow get it to scan that for us if we were all to think of our first year at the Academy meeting new race ethics class or something.
It is a question of how do we communicate with it, though? Is it merely reading memories, surface thoughts, images, doesn't understand emotions? More importantly, why? Why was this ship created? Why was it hurtling toward our starbase?
These are important questions. This is an alien race. Let's see. Can we put our heads together just a little bit here? So, what do we know about this race so far? That they probably have fingers, right? Because they have computers that have keys on them. We know that
they could use pseudopods.
Mm-hmm.
But they use.
We know it is a race we don't know. We know they have technology. We do not. We know they have access to alloys. We do not.
So we start from what we don't know, so that is the beginning of no knowledge.
Well, it scanned the database on the runabout and managed to figure out our atmosphere. So presumably it could also figure out some way of communicating with us if it wanted to.
Indeed, but how do we communicate what we wish to it?
I suppose we could all try to picture the room before we had it changed, and perhaps it would show us the room as it really is. Does everybody remember what that one computer looked like? Maybe we can all just concentrate on what that computer looked like, and maybe we can access that.
I can remember it precisely.
Worth a shot.
So you guys are going to try to get the room to revert back to how it is without the holograms, correct?
Right, by thinking of it as it was.
As long as we don't choose the form of our destructor.
Big
All of a
Stay
sudden,
Puft.
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man appears.
Don't cross the phaser streams.
You succeed. Suddenly, the room is once again this cylindrical, gray, blank, dim room.
I'm going to walk over to the nearest console, scanning it with the tricorder. I'm looking for the technological equivalent of a USB port.
And what would you do with that?
Well, if it's something that's compatible with something we have, then I'm going to connect to it to try and get information off the computer. If not, then I'll try and manufacture an interface for the same purpose.
Okay.
Or perhaps you could think of an interface.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to visually look to see if there's one first.
No,
I'm going to try the things that I do know before I don't know.
Yeah, you don't see anything that obviously would look like that.
Okay, so I'm imagining a tricorder interface is like maybe one of those little, on the original Star Trek, like teeny satellite dish things for their Wi-Fi. So I'm going to have that pointed right at this device and, be thinking about interfacing with it and see if it responds, if maybe the machinery will change. I don't know. This is a weird place.
Yeah, so as you tried to do that, all of a sudden, one of those stern-looking old Vulcans from the Vulcan Science Academy appears in front of you, and he says, "You're too smart for your own good, Mamyk. Why not just sit back and enjoy the ride?"
I am curious of this place. Knowledge leads to wisdom, which will lead to more questions, to more wisdom.
But none of that matters if your entire race, your entire civilization is annihilated. And that's what we're trying to prevent here.
Oh. I was not aware of this threat. Perhaps you could elaborate.
That is not for me to say. For now, simply enjoy the ride.
So we are going somewhere where there is someone there who can give us more details.
We are going somewhere where you will be safe.
Okay, he needs to define safe.
No longer perched on the edge of annihilation.
We are free beings, whoever you are. Should we not be given freedom to choose? Give us the knowledge that you have on this matter, and we can choose for ourselves.
You're currently mere inches away from the mutually assured destruction between your civilization and the one on the opposite side of your artificially created political border. We are here to prevent that. Simply enjoy the ride. You have access to anything that might make you comfortable for the journey. I suggest you avail yourself of it. And then he disappears.
Curious.
How's your tricorder reading from those probes? Have we moved yet?
No.
Have they gotten any more information, like all this tunneling and focusing? And
No, nothing particularly relevant. From the outside, it looks like the ship is still just sort of drifting in space after you guys sort of collapsed its warp field.
So, I mean, I'm going to have them look for things like, insert some technical babble here, but basically kind of materials that on the surface of this thing, which might suggest its point of origin. You get me? Like there might be trace materials on here that aren't from around here.
Yeah. Give me, this will be kind of difficult. Give me a difficulty 3 reason plus science task. So
So
you'll either need a crit or you'll need to buy extra dice, either by using one of your 3 points of momentum or by paying me threat.
okay, but I can roll 2 first. Like in other words, if I roll 2 and I don't even get 1 success, there's no point in buying a third.
Well, you have to decide before you roll. That's the whole point.
All right, well, yeah, I'll try it. I mean, why not? We got this momentum. We're here to play.
Assist you?
Sorry?
Is there anything we can do to assist you to
I'm
add
good.
more dice?
I got 7. I have 17 skill, and I got a 5, 14, and a 15. So that's 3 successes.
Okay, cool. So you are able to, by scanning some of the trace elements that are found on the hull of this strange vessel, you get the sense that there are some strange, not what the vessel is composed of, but it's somehow encountered some sort of elements that are much older than this particular galaxy, that couldn't possibly have originated from the Milky Way.
So I will pass that information along, and I will continue to mull it over in a scientific way.
With your permission, Commander, I'd like to start examining some of these control panels and possibly even pushing buttons.
Well, they did say that everything was going to be according to what we wanted, and you do kind of enjoy pressing buttons, just like me. So maybe that'd be just fine.
Well, they've demonstrated it to us so far that they don't, at this point anyway, mean us any harm. In fact, they're doing everything they can to put us at ease. But I would like to find out a little more about the ship and what it's capable of and how it works.
I have run continuous tricorder scans of the language. It is a language unknown to me, unknown to Starfleet.
Well, that's where I'm hoping examining the control panels will come in. Cause and effect. Push buttons, see what happens.
Proceed.
Yeah, so why don't you give me either control or reason plus con. And this will be difficulty 2 because this is alien equipment.
Okay, I'm going to go initially then and look at their power systems because I have a power systems focus. I'm going to see if I can determine how the ship is powered. So that's an 11 and 2, 13. So I have 4 and a 13. Unfortunately, the 4 is more than my con, so that's just 2 successes.
Okay. So that's...
It should take no skill to just push a button.
Well, in that case, something bad might happen. So as you examine one of these control panels and start to notice, you know, some of the way it's powered is not all that alien to you. You're able to figure out some basic things. There is a door that leads into that spherical chamber, but it appears to be locked tight. Otherwise, the propulsion system for this vessel doesn't appear all that different from a regular warp core that you'd be used to, except that it appears to be built for endurance, and it's very old, but still appears to be in fairly good working order.
So at least they're using similar engineering principles to ourselves.
Yeah.
Magic technology.
Yeah, I mean, a warp field is a warp field, and you sort of, you also kind of get the sense as you're looking at it that the warp field that you detected as this thing was approaching the starbase was fluctuating and maybe even malfunctioning.
I wonder if that indicates that it's been traveling for a long period of time, probably at high warp. Okay, I'll continue to examine the control panels. I want to look and see if there's anything that looks like a navigation panel.
It looks like those functions are sort of locked out from where you currently are.
Okay, I'll turn my attention to the door then. See if I can figure out any way of maybe opening the door.
Yes, you may certainly try to do that. That would be another the same sort of task you just attempted, difficulty 2.
With what reason and
what did you use last time? Either control or reason plus con.
Yeah. Okay, I can go for a con. I was hoping for engineering. That's a higher discipline, but okay. We have the 5 is good. The 20 is not so good.
Okay, the 20 creates a complication.
Sorry, guys, wrong button.
Hold on just one second here. Okay, so Lieutenant Commander Holm, you had some rather ugly experiences during the Cardassian border wars, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so all of a sudden the hologram sort of shifts again from this cold gray cylindrical room, and suddenly you find yourself in battle with several Cardassian soldiers.
Okay, I guess this isn't one of those pleasant memories, guys.
So we are all subject to this, right?
Yep.
Yes. So you're getting the sense that trying to unlock that door has somehow provoked a response from whatever this thing is.
This thing doesn't want us to get in, and I'm assuming those Cardassians are actually behind the door. You know, in between the door and us.
So, Lieutenant Commander Holm, describe for me what was maybe your worst experience during the Cardassian War, where you might have come into contact with actual Cardassian soldiers.
Well, I think it would have been during the evacuation of Epsilon 8, where we were trying to get the civilians out. It was very much brutal trench fighting. Gray, everything was gray, you could remember. Was the dominant color. There was also the smell of war, which was always nasty. Everything was filthy. We've been going on for several days, no little to no sleep, just trying to get these people out. Cardassians were setting up transporter inhibitors, all that. Of course, it was always going to be considered a minor skirmish, but it wasn't to us on the ground. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's almost exactly where you find yourself now, in this sort of close quarters, dirty trench warfare with 3 Cardassian soldiers. We'll take a quick break. Is that okay with you guys? Maybe like 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Be back in 5.
Cool.
Is this adventure one you wrote from scratch? Is this adventure one you wrote from scratch?
Yep, it is.
Cool.
Yeah, it's got a toss-like feel so far with ancient alien civilization.
Well, hopefully I still maybe got a surprise or two coming. Well, hopefully it's not as straightforward maybe as it appears.
Well, as long as it doesn't end with Trelane, I think we'll be fine.
If I was gonna, I'd use Q instead.
Yeah, much better.
I'm back.
Okay. We waiting on anyone else? Ben?
I'm here.
Paul, you good to go?
Ready.
So the way combat works is you will get you can get a number of minor actions and one task on your turn. If the first minor action you get is free, if you want to take more beyond that, you have to either spend momentum or pay threat. Minor actions can be like aiming, it can be moving a short distance, drawing an item, or working on a computer console or something like that. The task is usually an attack or something that requires rolling dice. We'll do this all kind of theater of the mind where everything is sort of within reach and within movement distances. We won't worry so much about distances right now, but this is just kind of a chance for everyone to sort of get their feet wet and get an idea of how combat works in Star Trek Adventures.
Why are you telling us how combat works? What are you saying?
That you're going to fight these Cardassians.
And we've got to be careful here.
Well, I have an idea. I guess
we've got no idea whether this system, whatever it is, includes safety protocols.
Do we really want to find out?
Well, yeah, I have. Okay. So how does it work? Is there initiative rolls or?
No, there is no initiative. It's usually assumed that one of the player characters will act first. After one of the player characters acts, then the initiative gets tossed to the bad guys, unless you guys spend 2 points of momentum to keep the initiative. And then it just kind of goes back and forth until the fight is resolved. So, choosing the act.
I know what I'd like to try and do, and if it works, the battle will be moot. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Dietrich. It's Dietrich who is having this hallucination, for lack of a better term, memory, right?
It's his memory, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to him, and I'm going to try and mind meld with him and calm him down and get him to think of something peaceful.
Okay. Just a thought. We could always stun him.
Well, I'm just...
Did I just suggest stunning a superior officer? No.
I was going to think... Then I was going to go for neck pinch next, but let's try this first.
I was thinking it. I didn't say it. I just thought it.
So what will be the opposed roll to Vietnam Warham?
Well, I guess I can look up exactly what the that's in the Vulcan.
The mind meld. So I
Yeah.
can read it to you. You have
Yeah,
undergone
please do.
training in telepathic techniques that allow the melding of minds through physical contact. This will always require a task with a difficulty of at least one, which can be opposed by an unwilling participant. If successful, you link minds with the participant, sharing thoughts and memories. Momentum may be spent to gain more information or perform deeper telepathic exchanges. The link goes both ways, and it is a tiring and potentially hazardous process for you. Complications can result in pain, disorientation, things like that.
Okay, so Lieutenant Commander Holm, are you a willing participant?
He just came up to me. I think I'm already.
Well, I'll say what I'm going to try and do. You know, I'm not going to just like grab you.
The thing is, though, is that this thing just scans our minds and all that. So I don't think mind melding with me is going to turn it off.
No, but I mean, it can calm you, right? I mean, I've seen Spock use that technique before, so I thought I could try and calm you to get you to think of a calm memory. That's really all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to change your mind about anything.
Still thinking stun.
Guys, don't have a thought right now.
Okay, well, if he's unwilling, I'm going for the neck pinch.
Well, the question is, will will that change the intent of whatever intelligence is operating this vessel to stop you from trying to open that door, or to punish you for trying to open the door?
And I don't believe it's wise to show violence to one another in front of this thing. We're supposed to be civilized.
My character's thinking of it scientifically. If his thoughts are creating this reality, then if I can change those thoughts, the reality will change. Mm-hmm. That's the logic that Mamyk is following.
Okay. So give me, let's say, I think that would probably be presence plus, I don't know what the discipline would be. And it didn't specify, right? And the wording for the mind.
Requirement Vulcan. It's just requirement Vulcan.
Okay, so I'm going to say
thing. So security.
Sure. Presence plus security. The difficulty 1, assuming Lieutenant Commander Holm is a willing participant to establish a mind link.
I would say, I mean, one of the 3 Vulcan attributes are control, fitness, and reason. So I would say it's one of those.
Okay, go with
Makes
reason.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm rolling 2 dice. I got 2 12s. So that's 2 successes.
Okay, so you generate a point of momentum. You're able to access this memory, and you are impressed with the precision with which it's been recreated on this holodeck, but it does nothing to shut it off.
Yeah, I'm not trying to affect the environment. I'm trying to affect him.
Okay.
Right? If I can get him to think of warm, fluffy bunnies, then, you know, I'm not trying to...
Okay, yeah. So assuming that's okay with Dietrich, then you are able to sort of focus his mind and not let him get, kind of overrun by the stress and fatigue that this memory might create for him.
Cool.
So you guys now have 3 points of momentum, or the rules say the initiative now shifts to one of the Cardassians, unless you'd like to use 2 points of momentum to keep the initiative on your side.
Well, before we do that, make that decision, so we can do some certain minor actions as well. Since since you described it being a trench warfare sort of thing, can we just assume that we are hiding, using the trench kind of as cover, that we're not sticking our heads out?
Sure. Yeah,
also,
make it a cover shooter.
A question there, like, you would take your minor actions and then your task on your turn, and then the next person takes their minor actions and their task on their turn, right?
Yep, on your turn, correct.
Okay.
So that was Mamyk's, I would say his minor action would be...
My turn's done.
Yep.
I moved to him and I did that.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. So the initiative would shift to one of the Cardassians unless one of you wants to spend 2 points of momentum to keep the initiative.
Well, I'm assuming you're going to kick our butt. How much momentum do we have right now? 3?
You got 3 points of momentum. I have 4 points of threat.
Yeah. I don't know if we should waste that yet. Like
Okay,
it
well,
can be used for lots of things.
Well,
They're going to go sooner or later.
Yeah, well, as a character, I want my guy to not be destroyed, but at the same time, as a a co-writer of an episode, we gotta see what these Cardassians can do. So yeah, let's let them let them build some stakes for us.
Okay, cool. Hey, I like that attitude. So I should also explain, you guys all have a number of stress that's equal to your fitness plus your security. So when any attack, if you are reduced to 0 stress, then you become injured. Injured characters can no longer take actions during the scene. Basically, you're done until you receive some sort of medical care. An attack that does 5 points or more damage in a single attack also causes an injury. So those are kind of the 2 ways you can become injured. You can spend threat or momentum to avoid injuries. You can also use your determination to avoid injury as well. So one of the Cardassians will one of the 3 Cardassians in this dark, dreary trench kind of charges up through the muck, and he's going to go after the commander who just said he wants the stakes raised. And I'm going to spend a point of my threat to do an unarmed strike against you. So, Commander Stiles, I need you to roll control plus security. Or I'm sorry, daring plus security. Daring plus security.
Daring security. Okay. And I don't know if we. So my success on this will allow me to in hand-to-hand against these guys?
Yes, potentially oppose this attack. Correct. Yeah. The Cardassian got 2 successes, so you will need you'll need 3 to to turn the tables on the attack.
Ooh. Well, I guess I could. I probably need an extra die. What do you guys think? Or am I a fool for giving an extra die?
Use it or lose it. Screaming Eagles.
All right, so I'll use my determination then?
To get an extra dice, you can either spend 1 point of momentum or pay me 1 point of threat.
And we have 3 momentum.
Correct.
Yeah, just spend 1. Go for it.
All right, I'll spend 1. So then I get to roll 3?
3 d20s, yep. You need all 3 of them to be, you need 3 successes to successfully turn the tables on this attack.
All right, and I have combat tactics as a one of my focuses. Can we assume
so that increases your...
I can use my knowledge of fighting in the war against the Cardassians to know exactly how to hide and use the trench to make it difficult for him to get me?
Yep, that would increase your crit range. So anything that is your security discipline or lower would be a critical success.
Great. Then I have 4 rather than just 2.
Okay, cool. So you successfully turn the tables on the attack. You can describe that for me narratively as this Cardassian charges through the darkness at you.
Yeah, I guess I kind of dodged to the side almost in like a laser tag move where there's less of my body available, and my phaser goes off like right in front of the guy and melts his shoes to the mud.
Okay. And then, so you will now be able to, you have successfully done a melee attack against him. So I will have you roll a number of D6s that is 1 plus your security discipline.
That's the number I roll?
That's the number of D6s you roll.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of tell you how you total those up.
Okay, I have a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5.
2. Okay, the 2 does 2 points. The 3 and the 4 don't do any. You said a 2, 3, 4, and a 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 2 does 2, the 5 does 1 and knocks him down. So you do a total of 3 points of damage to the first Cardassian. he is now knocked prone in front of you. The initiative passes back to you guys. One of you may act.
Okay. Do you want to go Andorian or shall I?
I'm going to make sure I've got my phaser drawn and turn to stun, but I'm purely defensive. I'm not going to take any offensive actions.
Okay, then I'll just try and go in for a hand-to-hand then.
Sorry, I meant to call you Pink Skin at the end of that.
So, Lieutenant Commander Holm, you said you want to do a melee attack. Are you going after the one that just got hit, or one of the two Cardassians who are currently uninjured?
I'm going to probably go after one of the ones that haven't acted yet.
Okay, so that will be a daring plus security task that's opposed by the daring plus security of the Cardassian that you are attacking.
Okay, that applies to my focus, so crit range is 5. I am going to spend a momentum to get an extra d20.
Okay, you now have 1 point of momentum left.
Yep. 5, 12, 14. 3 success. 5? No, 4 successes.
4 successes. So the Cardassian didn't get any. So you generate 3 points of momentum, and you can roll your stress dice, which is 1 plus your security discipline.
Okay. Vicious also adds 1 Starfleet. So is it going to be 7?
So roll your dice and then add 1 extra to it.
Okay. Okay. 6. 3, 4, 5, 1, 5, 5, 1.
Okay, get rid of the 3s and 4s, and then you said how many ones and how many 1s, 5s, or 6s?
2 1s, 3 5s.
2 1s, so that's 5, and then how many 2s?
It was just 2 1s.
Okay, so ones are 1s, 5s and 6s are 1s, 2s are 2s, 3s and 4s are 0.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or you just want to read it to me and I'll write them down?
Okay, sure. I have 3 dice that were 5.
Okay.
And 2 dice that were 1.
Okay, total of 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 3 and a 4.
Yep. Okay. So describe for me how you knock this Cardassian out in a single blow.
Oh my god. Imagine a sort of cheesy toss roll in an EV suit. Kind of bulky, all of that, going completely covered in mud, going up. And then a sort of simple pressure point judo chop. Because whenever I imagine hand-to-hand combat, I'm always going back to toss here. So I didn't expect it. I wasn't able, and he just falls to the ground instantly. So, but makes me open to the next Cardassian.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So this is obviously a really traumatic memory for you, but on the other hand, you just had this Vulcan mind meld that sort of calms you down and focuses you. I'm wondering how that's playing out in your mind.
You tell me, some person goes into your mind, into your deepest, darkest things, and then is just like trying to calm you down. Although you basically went to Starfleet Academy, you went through all of this, you basically have been trained to know how to calm down and basically go on instinct in the battlefield.
So really maybe what it would do, it would give you increased like focus and awareness in the moment kind of thing, right? Like you'd be able to better filter out extraneous things. I'm thinking like how a Vulcan would help, right? That's kind of like Vulcan concentration kind of thing.
I'm just saying it's a little bit crazy. So what would be the fun threat? Like I'm basically out in the open or what?
You tell me, man.
Oh, I think it should be something along the lines that the Cardassian probably gets like a free bonus die to hit me, so that make it fun.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. So you now, because of that successful attack, you guys now have 4 points of momentum at your disposal. If you like, you can spend 2 to pass the momentum to one of the 2 guys on your side who have not acted yet. Otherwise, it's one of the Cardassians' turns.
Stunning him still an option.
I don't think it's going to change the thing. The mind meld didn't work, so I don't think this stun will work.
Can I try?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to stop you. But I'll I don't want to spend the momentum just to speed up a turn. Let's save it for better attacks and stuff, better rolls.
Okay,
so they can have their turn, and then we'll go.
Okay. So one of the Cardassians will he will fire his disruptor pistol at the sort of raging human that just took out one of his pals. And so ranged attacks, unlike melee attacks, are just a flat difficulty 2, which is control plus security. I'm going to spend a point of threat to get a 3rd die. So now I now have 2 threat. And got my 2 successes. So I'm going to roll damage.
Pew, pew, pew.
But can I action roll out?
So this is going to do 5 points of damage to you with the disruptor. So that would cause an injury. You have you have 3 options. One is to accept the injury, which means you'll no longer be able to act in this scene. Another is you can spend 2 points of your momentum to avoid the injury. You still take the stress damage. The third is to spend your determination, which means you take the injury, but you fight through the pain to keep going. In which case, once the scene is over, you will still suffer the effects of the injury.
I think I'm going to spend a 2 momentum to try to avoid the injury.
Okay, cool. So you still take the 5 points of stress damage, but you don't suffer the injured trait.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So the initiative passes back to you guys.
So who hasn't gone yet? I went first originally. I don't know if anyone else has gone yet.
I
Lieutenant Chesirk.
Oh, okay. I'm going to roll the dice for a court martial. I'm going to stun him.
Okay.
I'm figuring that if it's his mind that's creating this, and he's reacting to it instinctively.
Well, you would probably get this. You probably got the sense from the mind meld that stopping the memory didn't necessarily stop this scene.
There's always the sheer joy of stunning him, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about that.
Chris said the party wants to kill each other.
So in this scene that we're in, there's nothing of the original ship at all. There's nothing I can see.
No, you were in this trench on some distant planet in the middle of a border war with the Cardassians.
I'm going to see if I can focus on my happy place. See if I can do something to influence the ship to come back to me, rather than focusing on him. I'm not going to do anything more towards trying to figure out what this door is and how to open it. I want to try and force the ship back to me.
Okay. That will be it'll be kind of a difficult. I'll say it's a difficulty 3. And I'm going to say this is kind of you're using the force of your personality, so it'd be presence plus like command.
Yeah, I'm using the fact that it focused on me initially.
Mm-hmm. Difficulty 3, presence plus command, and you've got 2 points of momentum, and you can also pay into threat to get extra d20s if you like.
I will spend a momentum for a reroll.
Okay.
Well, for an extra dice, and then, oh no, that's only for engineering. Yeah, I'll spend a momentum for an extra dice, and we'll see how we do. So what was it? Presence plus
command.
Presence plus command. Okay, could be better. So that's 12 I'm looking for. So that's an 8, an 8, and a 3.
Well done.
Nice.
So describe for me, Lieutenant Chesirk, how you so how you sort of concentrate to get the vessel to focus back on you, and what you think of to change the scene.
So I'm trying to sort of go back to my happy place, to the cliffs overlooking the sea. I'm trying to focus as much as I can on that, but also trying to sort of project that to the ship, to try and use it as a sort of mental call to the ship to effectively sort of come back to where I am rather than where it is at the moment.
Yeah, so
because I also have this untapped potential, and you're not going to like this. When I succeed at a task after buying an additional dice with momentum, I get to roll an effect dice and we see what happens.
okay.
So that's a 2. So that actually counts as 2 bonus momentum for us.
Cancels it, or
No,
is that
it
what you
counts
said?
as.
Oh,
So
okay.
we gain 2 extra momentum.
Okay, cool. So you now have a total of 3 momentum. The scene does indeed shift back to this cold cliff overlooking this frozen, vapor-covered ocean.
I'll try and keep focusing on that.
Even though, like, just a moment ago we were in combat, I'm going to, like, immediately revert to, like, calm reserve Vulcan. Curious, the ship responded with a threat when we tried to enter that door. It clearly does not want us to enter.
You think? Yeah, I'm going to keep on at least sort of keeping my head kind of where it is, nice and calm. I think we should try very hard not to investigate anything more, or at least not through that door.
Yeah, so as you guys take a moment to take in your surroundings again, someone kind of steps through I imagine it's sort of misty and there's maybe snow falling, and someone kind of steps through this mist, and it's an older Andorian that Lieutenant Chesirk, you recognize immediately as your father. And he says, "You're always so headstrong, such strong will. I'm afraid that I've miscalculated."
I'm always looking for answers. I'm always trying to find new things, investigate new things. I apologize for intruding.
You know, I've always
It is
just tried to help you.
curious, though. This is the second time this machine has generated artificial creatures to try and dissuade us from learning any information.
This older Andorian says, "Thelev, you know, I've always just tried to do what was best for you."
Yep, you did. You did. You got me into Starfleet Academy. So I understand that. Are you trying to do what's best for us now?
I'm doing what I thought was best, but now I understand that maybe that wasn't the case.
And we know we have to be careful. We know there are parts of this ship that you don't want us to see.
Only because I was looking out for you. I see now that maybe that wasn't what was best. And so he disappears, and the room reverts back to the cylindrical, gray, blank room, and this door at one end, Iris, open.
So
Perhaps you convinced it.
I hope so. Do we still have the commander with us?
I hope so.
You're the commander, Commander.
let's get going.
So the door that they didn't want us to go through is just open for us?
Yep.
Yeah, we've convinced them that to open it, basically. We
All right,
didn't
well,
make them open it. We convinced them to.
Tricorders out. Let's try to think pleasant thoughts.
So Chenner, do I get that name right? He was able to get some information out of this console because he was able to figure out certain controls, and he got some stuff going. So from his knowledge and the language I can visually read, can I start to extrapolate any, you know what I mean? Can I start to translate this language at all? Because now I have a point of reference.
Yeah, maybe. What exactly are you trying to find out?
Just translate the language so we can read these consoles.
Yeah, the consoles aren't necessarily like spelled out like this is how you run the ship or anything like that.
Right, but I mean, you know, it might say what each thing represents, what each readout represents, that kind of thing. We couldn't read the language before; it was alien to us.
Yeah.
But now we have some point of reference for the universal translator because he had some success with getting the controls to do what he wanted them to do, right?
Yeah, you think most of the controls in the cylindrical room are mostly inputs for programming the holographic machinery in here. And that most other functions are, you can't access most of the shipboard functions from there.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, well, because
Curious.
everything's holographic, my concern is that this is just an illusion that we're going, you know, as we're walking through this open door, that it's actually just a holodeck kind of illusion of us doing that. So that's why, instead of paying attention to what's going on around me with my eyes, I'm looking at my tricorder, and I might even switch up the tricorder to so that it's it's got a manual instead of a user interface based on my eyes. Maybe if I based it on feel or something like that, I'd be more likely to trust to trust my tricorder too.
So basically, you're going to pull a Barkley.
Computer end program.
With the technology available to this alien race, it seems they could have killed us if that was their desire all along. They seem to be letting us do what they want us to do, but perhaps they have some understanding now of allowing us to do what we want to do. We wanted to explore the ship. They are now letting us.
Well, they've shown they're trying to dissuade us from doing things that are wrong. They've shown that they're able to keep us calm. They're doing things to help us, but they're not saying exactly what they're going to do.
Sounds like they're keeping us on ice. I don't know why just us would be sufficient for some kind of major incursion by the Romulans.
I think they are acting out of a desire to help us, to preserve us. But perhaps their approach is misguided. They seem to be more willing now to listen to our perceptions, our points of view. I say we proceed with examining the ship and see if we can learn more. The creature seems becoming gradually more amenable.
All right, very well. Let's see what we can do. And you said that we were detecting some problems in their engines. Maybe there's something we can do to help if this thing is.
Yeah, when you guys first got them on your sensor scans, the warp field was irregular. That might lead you to believe that there's some sort of technical difficulties going on.
I'll resume some scans with my engineering tricorder and see if I can interpret what I see on the tricorder and relate it to what's on the control panels as well.
I also have the focus warp field dynamics, so that's got to be helpful.
Yeah. Can we tell if I think there's some scans that can be done to tell if there's if this is from a different point in time? I mean, and we know that the materials that we found are really old. Can we somehow tell if this ship is, originally from the future?
We can do some quantum dating.
Yeah, search for graviton particles. In this reality, we're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you guys conduct these scans, you don't see any evidence to believe that this ship has traveled through time or anything. It's made from, at least there's some trace materials here that lead you to believe it's far older than even this galaxy.
I think them to want to help us out.
So, yeah, what is in the front of this ship? What is
you guys going there?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the security guy to lead. That seems to be what he should do, probably more than the science
And then
officer.
roll in.
Well, you let the cops, make sure the place is secure before you send in the EMTs.
Yeah, so as Dietrich leads the away team into the room, you find a small spherical chamber covered in organic material that reminds you of brain matter, intertwined with various computer readouts and wires. As you enter, you hear a disembodied voice ring out, "Oh, my stars and garters, I'm afraid passengers are not normally permitted in the bridge."
Who are we addressing?
I am Salvation 10.
What is your nature?
I am Salvation 10.
I am Mamyk, also a Vulcan. What is your nature?
I am Salvation 10.
Well, we come in peace, and we were allowed in here. Everything's kosher. We're not going to mess anything up. In fact, if you could tell us a little bit more about what we're not supposed to touch, we'd be happy not to touch it.
And there's something wrong with its speech. It's stuttering.
Yeah, you definitely notice that. You get the sense that even some of this brain-like material is sort of convulsing in different areas of the room in sort of strange ways.
I've got an engineering tricorder and I'm not a medic, but can anybody scan it and see if there's any issues with the organic material?
I take it it's bioorganic. It seems to be the machinery is mixed with the, right? Yeah.
But
Yep,
the machinery may not be breaking down. The biological material may be.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Do a medical scan as well as a technical scan.
So yeah, this would be a
We do
difficulty
that.
too. Either you could do reason plus science, or you could do reason plus medicine. Absolutely.
It doesn't really seem to be either one of those is my forte. I mean, an engineering guy
Or engineering.
for
I'd let you do engineering
the
too.
one part, and I don't know who wants to do the whose character is most suited for the biological scan.
I
I
got
would not say
survival.
mine. Yeah, maybe you then do the biological scan.
Okay, reason plus medicine. You
See if
did.
it's sick, plagued. I don't know. Got a cold.
Okay, let's see. Got a 15 and a 3, so 1 success.
Okay, so one success is enough to realize that the organic material has some sort of the organic and the synthetic work together ordinarily, and there's something that's something sort of causing like a virus almost in the organic parts of this machine. You also suspect that it's an artificial intelligence rather than just like a computer.
Well, we brought our first aid kits for a reason.
Can we somehow determine the nature of this virus, like to concoct a cure?
You can certainly try.
Make sure that it's, I guess, basic first aid, if that's something that Mop might do for.
Well, I guess in the Star Trek setting, I mean, I'd had the medical officer do this.
Right.
I don't know.
Our intermedics is the one who didn't make it today. Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, Steve was playing the medic. That's right. Right. Okay.
In this setting, that's you, Robert.
I'll tell you what. I mean, one of you
I'm
can
fine,
do
yeah,
the main
try.
task, and one of you can assist.
Yeah. I mean, the one other thing is we can do that and also spend momentum. We have like what? How much momentum?
You have 3 points of momentum.
Yeah. we can
All right.
spend
So
momentum.
what is the role then? Attribute and just.
Well, to diagnose whatever is causing this problem, I'm going to say it's a difficulty 3, control plus science or medicine, as you sort of scan this equipment and figure out what's going wrong with it. One of you may assist, and you've also got 3 points of momentum, which would buy you 2 extra dice.
I've got good numbers in control and science. I got a total of 16.
I'll try and assist. I've got a total of 14 in control and medicine.
All right. If we need 3, I'm going to spend 2 points then to get 2 extra dice. Makes sense? So I'll roll 4 dice to get 3 successes.
Yeah, so the first dice costs 1, the second dice costs 2. So you need to spend all 3 of your momentum to get 2 extra dice.
And I'm just rolling the 1 for an assist, yeah?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, so let him do that first then.
So I get a 9,
my
so
roll.
that's 1 success.
I'll just roll 3 dice then. So I'm just going to
Okay.
spend 1 momentum for 1 extra dice, because I only need 2 now, right?
Correct.
So that's good, because I only got 2.
All right. So you were able to diagnose the problem. It looks like this craft, when it passed through the Paulson Nebula, some of the dilithium hydroxyls present in the nebula somehow almost acted like a virus in the organic material that sort of forms this artificial intelligence. It wouldn't be that difficult to neutralize those dilithium hydroxyls.
Okay, so I'm going to explain that to the captain, and I'm going to bring up a display, and there'll be some sort of visual representation of that problem on the screen, because that's what Star Trek does. And so we're all looking at this visual representation of this issue and showing it this imbalance in, from how it should be, from the norm. And then I'll suggest we try and, effect a cure.
I think we maybe need to think about the cure more than show it.
Yeah, I think we're in good
reading minds.
I think we are kind of in good shape in the sense that I think normally this kind of stuff would need a surgeon, because they'd have to get into some kind of really small area using scanners. But this looks like it's like the whole area around here seems to be brain. So it looks like we have full access to it. So now if we have engineering here, we can look at it from that point of view. Plus we can look at it. Don't we have a life support expert with us?
That'll be
We
me.
also have the shuttle's transporter to use, too.
The cure does not seem too difficult, and it is more biological in nature than technological.
True, but under the circumstances, I'm probably the closest thing we've got to a surgeon.
Yeah, go for it.
No pressure then.
And since I'm trying to get us all involved, is there something I can do with my assists with my team dynamics focus?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the commanding officer, you can sort of manage the situation and oversee the people under your command. So if you want to assist, you certainly can. It's really just going to be a difficulty 2 task, probably reason plus engineering, and the commander can do presence plus command to assist.
Do we have any momentum left?
You have 2 points of momentum, yes. You're basically just neutralizing these dilithium hydroxyls that have sort of spread throughout the organic matter in this machine.
Okay, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to spend some momentum for another dice.
Okay.
And you said it was reason and engineering, so that's 15. So we're talking 6, 8, and 3.
Well done.
So that's, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4 successes?
Yeah, 2 points of momentum back. And
nice. Well done.
These
so
convulsion...
I guess I got 2 successes because I rolled a 3, and that would be under my command. So with my team dynamics, that'd be the critical thingy. But I also rolled a 20, so I don't know what that does.
That creates a complication. Thank you for telling me.
So success with a complication. Okay.
Exactly. So you guys are able to... Go ahead.
Using my untapped potential again, I roll a 1. So that gives us 1 extra momentum.
Okay. So you guys have now maxed out your momentum pool at 6.
Can that cancel the complication? Is there a mechanic for that?
Untapped potential is the Wesley Crusher ability.
Yep.
So you guys are able to successfully neutralize these dilithium hydroxyls, and you notice that these strange convulsions in the organic material all of a sudden cease. And the voice speaks up again, and he says, "Thank you for healing me. I was unexpectedly sickened when I passed through that nebula. I see now that I have erred by making contact with you, and you do not need my assistance after all. And you guys are the energy field that's preventing you guys from beaming back dissipates, and you guys are beamed back to the starbase. The runabout detaches, and the ship warps away.
I'm going to send a command to the runabout to. It should be able to auto-navigate its way back to the base. It's not very far, right?
Yep, right. It's you're in the space immediately surrounding the starbase.
Okay, not the result we were hoping for, but
So
you guys find yourselves back in ops, unharmed.
but still
Yeah,
wearing
like-
PPA suits, which must look kind of silly now.
Sorry, I lost my connection for a second.
well, I think we're still given some little preview of what we can expect. I mean, not like we weren't already looking for possible Romulans wherever we see them, but I think we should probably be on the alert here for the next, I don't know, couple days. Let's try to keep our eyes peeled and make sure we face whatever it was this person thought we were going to face with our head on straight.
And it sounded pretty sure something was going to happen.
Yep, I think we need to make a report about all of this and get this sent to the Admiral right away.
I'm going to add all the information we learned about the craft or what information we did learn about the craft and its language to our database.
Yeah, so
Next
to
time.
review, this craft seemed to believe that you guys were on the precipice of some sort of impending disaster. And it also emerged from the Paulson Nebula, so maybe that might be something to look at in a future episode. But other than that, that brings the first episode to a close.
Oh, okay, cool.
And we're all still alive. Bonus.
Very nice.
It cuts to a slow pan of normal operations returning.
Yeah,
And there was
then,
much agreement.
yeah, then the producer sign pops up.
Exactly.
Right.
Cool. So thank you guys for playing with me. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for asking the follow-up questions about what our, happy places were and such. It was cool to come up with that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, are we meeting in 2 weeks then?
I think a month. The second Saturday of every month is what we had talked about in the Facebook group. I'm going to stop the broadcast now. We can still keep
Okay.
talking. But...
Okay, cool.